Hi, it's Jane from Allotment Cooks down here at the allotment, and today I am going to be putting together my Irrigatia water system, which is a solar water system, and it's absolutely brilliant. Now, I actually already have one in the polytunnel from last year, and it's just amazing because it waters everything. I don't have to panic about it, even if it's raining outside. It's not going to rain inside the polytunnel, and it saves so much water as well compared to the year before when I was watering manually. The amount of water that was being used up from the water butt, completely different. So I am setting up the system to be outside, so watering systems don't have to be inside a polytunnel or inside a greenhouse. And they don't need to have the dripper systems. If they're in a greenhouse, you've got pots, the dripper system is the best one. But I've gone for the microporous hose because it's going to go outside around my squashes bed, which are very thirsty plants, so they need nice consistent watering, which this will offer it with no problem. So before I start setting up the whole system, there's a few little bits that I need to do, and the first one is my microporous hose. So what I've done is I've actually unwound it, and here it is, and it's nicely in a bucket. Now, the reason why it's in this bucket of water is because it needs to rehydrate, because if I set this up and then I get that attached before I've actually managed to sort of rehydrate that hose, it's just not going to work properly straight away. It will struggle, and I don't want it to struggle. I certainly don't want it to break. So that's the first thing I need to do. Something else I also need to do, which I'll show you as well. So the second thing I need to do, and actually it doesn't really matter what order you do this bit in, but something else that I need to do before I actually get my system sorted is everything that I need for this area. So I have my water butt here, which I have relocated from the polytunnel. I had two down there, don't need two, so one of them's come up here. And this is just relocated by my squashes bed. So that's my squashes bed, and they're going to be treated like princesses this year, they really are. Now, what I also need is this pole. So I've dug this into the ground, and this is where my solar panel, which has the pump system inside it included, is going to sit. Now, it may look like it's a bit shady in this area at the moment, but I know that as the day goes on, this does get a lot of sun. It sounds really obvious, but before you set your system up, just make sure that you're setting it up where there is plenty of sunlight. Now, once this is actually attached onto here, what will happen is I'll have the leads going from the solar panel into the water butt, and then the microporous hose will actually come down this tube and into the bed areas. Now, the microporous tube is actually 25 meters, so I'm going to sort of snake it around these beds here, and that's just about going to be it. So next thing is just to actually set up the system itself.
So once you actually take everything out of the package, you will find that you have the solar panel, which is also your pump. Now, within this you also have a cable which is already attached, and this is actually your sensor. Now, this is important because when your piping goes into your water butt, you need to have this sensor in there so that the system knows if you have actually run out of water, so it will automatically stop. Now, you also have the inlet. Now, the inlet is where the pipe goes in to the system from the water butt, and this will take your water in, and then you have your outlet, and your outlet is what attaches to your microporous hose or even to your dripper system to water your plants. Now, you need to flush the system through if it's the first time of using, so this actually already comes in the pack, and it's quite easy just to put the water through the system so it's ready for everything else that we need to do. Now, also included within the package is the tubing. Now, this is not only for your weight, which will help the inlet actually sit inside your water butt, and we just need to attach that, but the rest of the tubing will also be if you have the dripper system. So just going to attach this to the weight, and you'll actually see in a moment that the weight has these little balls inside it, and that will hold it down into the water butt, and it will draw up the water, but not any mess. So there won't be any mess or muck going into the system because of the filter. We're then just going to attach that to the inlet. Now, we also need to have the outlet, and the outlet will also use part of this tubing. And what we have is we have the overflow system. So part of the tubing will attach to the overflow, which goes into the outlet, and the rest of it will attach to the microporous hose. So we just need to take a little bit of this tubing and cut it. Now, this is again really important. You must make sure that your overflow will be sitting slightly higher than your water source. source. So if you are using a water butt, just make sure that this tubing is just ever so short of the system itself, and then we'll attach it to the outlet. Now the first part of the outlet tubing is attached to the overflow system. We now need to attach the other side, which will either go to your microporous hose or to your dripper system. So I'm using a microporous hose, so I need to make sure that I'm going to attach it to my hose itself. Now, two ends of your microporous hose. The first one will attach to the overflow system, to that tubing on the second part, but you also have the other end, and actually the way you deal with these are very similar. You do need to expose the inner cable just inside that outer packaging, so pull those back, don't cut them, just to expose the inside of your microporous hose. You then attach what is basically like a washer, and it's a plastic tube. Now if you're attaching this to your outlet, you'll actually put that into the end and then recover. However, this is actually showing you how to do the end of your microporous hose. We have this solid block which I'm going to put into that washer, and that will block the end so the water doesn't just run out. Now once I've done this, I'm then going to cover it over with that casing. Just pull it right the way over that washer and the stopper. Once I've done this, I'm then just going to fold over the ending. So it's almost like tying it off. Now within the packaging you also have cable ties, so once you've got that end stopper completely covered over with the casing, fold it over, get yourself one of the cable ties, tie it around, and that is basically your system all set up, ready to now go outside. So because I've already prepared my outside pole, all I'm going to do is just screw the panel into place, making sure of course it is in that direct sunlight. Now once you've actually done this, you then need to make sure that my filter and my sensor goes into my water butt. Now my water butt already has a hole on the side. If you don't have that, then make sure you put that on. You see I'm using cable ties here again, and this is just to make sure that the sensor is lower than the filter. If the sensor was higher than the filter and you ran out of water, it just wouldn't work. And then it's just a case of simply dropping that into the water butt. Now everything is set up. What I do need to do is I need to set up my microporous hose. So just unwinding this is still attached to the actual panel, so I'm just going to wind this around my squash's bed. So as I said before, this doesn't have to be in a polytunnel or in a greenhouse. This system will also work outside. What you must make sure you do as you're putting and laying down the microporous hose is make sure that it is flat to the ground. In with the packaging comes little hooks which will go into the ground to hold the microporous in its place. Now that I have everything set up, I have the microporous hose which is flat to the ground, winding around all of my plants in my beds. I need to switch the panel on. Now the first time you switch this on, it may show a number 8. If it does that, it just means that the system is running through and establishing and maybe powering up a bit. Once it's sorted out, it may show number 1, 2 or 3, which shows that it is either watering every 1, 2 or 3 hours depending on sunlight.